So today we have here a longtime friend, and I swear that when I started to put this project together, was one of the first names that I put on the paper. Like, I have to have Mark there. Mark, thank you very much for coming.
Sure, my pleasure.
I have so many questions.
Okay,
oh
good.
My God.
Hopefully I have some interesting answers.
Interesting. We met at Big Lou's.
Right.
Now I saw you racing here at the Slot.it Nationals. I hope you had a good time.
It was an interesting experience, yeah.
Interesting experience, yeah. So we always talking about slot cars, trying to tune the cars, and we never talk about Hot Wheels. And it's something that is impregnated in everybody's life. Like, I remember my father bringing me a new Hot Wheel every Friday.
Wow.
Every Friday I had a new one. And then my younger brother came along, and then my collection was over.
Yeah.
But it's something that is literally impregnated in everybody's life, every boy's life, I think. And you are probably today the longest still active Hot Wheels designer.
Probably.
Yes. How many designers do you guys have today?
We have about 20, and that's split between casting designers and graphic designers.
Okay.
So we have those two separated.
And you do both?
No, back in the day when things were simpler, I used to do some sketches and paintings to give them direction of what I wanted, and they did that. But now we're doing so much that the graphic guys pretty much go their own way. We have a little input on the first edition, if we want it to look like a certain race car or something.
On the very first mold, let's call it,
Yeah.
cast, let's call it this way.
Yeah.
So I saw very interesting. I was taking a look in your collection of designs, and you have the good ones, like the Sauber C9, the Mercedes, the Red Pig,
Yeah.
a bunch of very cool cars. Do you have to choose? Do you have the chance to choose which one?
Yes, we do. Back in the old days, we got a lot of help from marketing people who maybe weren't really into cars and stuff. And so we had to put everything in categories so that we could kind of just say we're going to do this many hot rods, this many race cars, this many popular cars, this many 90s cars. Nowadays, we have a marketing guy who's pretty much in tune with what's going on. So my theory is he's kind of reliving his childhood of RC cars.
Okay.
So a lot of our choices are influenced by that.
Okay, and that's Jimmy, right?
Jimmy, right.
Okay, yeah. I was in touch with him.
Yeah.
It's a bit hard because you guys are neighbors here. You're like a couple blocks away, and I was talking to Jimmy because you introduced us, and I was trying to connect slot cars with Hot Wheels, and it's very hard because I know that you guys have a collection of real cars, and I want to try to bring those cars here for the special events. But it's the connection between Hot Wheels and slot cars. It's not there. It's hard to market Hot Wheels here. It's hard to market slot cars there, and so we never kind of could connect it really. Mm-hmm. But I learned, and I don't know nothing about HO slot cars. And recently we got a large collection. We got actually 3 large collections of vintage slot cars. And I invited over Mark Natividad, who's a slot car specialist, to kind of to appraise the collection and talk and try to teach me a little bit about it. And I learned that Tyco was acquired by Mattel on the early 80s or late 80s. Probably 90s.
90s, I think, 90s. Yeah.
And you were part of this acquisition, so you're involved in slot cars much more than I.
Well, on the periphery, yeah. One caveat, I'm not an official spokesman for Mattel, right? I'm just a Hot Wheels designer here giving my opinions.
Okay.
We purchased Tyco, and at the time, I believe the RC business was doing really well. And Tyco, the slot cars came with that. And I did bring one car that I actually, a slot car that I did design in the Tyco era. But we kind of, it was a small hobby type company colliding with a big box company, right? Mm-hmm. Mass market company. So immediately then on the sets, they went, and I don't know the reasoning, but they went to the battery packs instead of the transformer. And to me, that's like death knell,
Okay.
But it was more toy, aimed at toys.
Yes.
Yeah. And the car I did, you want me to
Yeah.
step out of there?
Is that inside of the book?
Yeah, just. This was a fantasy car that we did for a line that was televised called Acceleracers.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, they picked this one. And so this is my great claim to slot car design.
So I see it's, as far as I know, it's a X440 or whatever it is.
Yes, I believe it is, yeah.
Yeah. And, okay.
Just the extended wheelbase.
Is that any relation with Hot Wheels, or are you guys doing this car as a
Yes,
Hot
we were
Wheels?
doing the car at the same time, yes.
Okay, so the marketing say, look, let's do
Tyco
a
was trying
movable Hot Wheels.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Trying to capture the success of Acceleracers.
And that was the prototype?
Oh, that's actual production.
Production.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Sorry. After watching your video with
yeah, you're afraid to
Ferrari,
bring,
I'm afraid
you're afraid to bring your
yes.
cars. So that was back in the 90s, right? And
Right.
then you guys run Tyco / Mattel for almost 7 years, I think.
Yeah, I think so, and then it kind of went away. When the RC kind of, we were having trouble. I was actually in RC at that time, and just costing, we had to use less motors, and the batteries, everything just got too costly for our overheads, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of where it went away, and now they're reviving RC, but as a Hot Wheels RC.
Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
So kind of toyish kind of side of
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah,
To sell in big
Yes.
stores.
right.
Than proper hobbyists and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then there's also a thing called Mattel Creations that's real high-end, and it's online only.
Any talks to come back with Tyco?
I mentioned it to the guys who were running that, and they seemed interested at the time. But I should probably mention Gary Cody is running that group. I should introduce him to you.
Yeah, because the market's big.
Yeah.
Like we're not AJO specialists. We're trying to start to sell it right now because we acquired those two collections and there's so many cars. And we kind of, this is a big market. We started to learn about it. And then we got an account with AFX. So we're selling AFX here, which sells very well. Actually, it's a different type of collectors. I remember one day, because of our proximity with AFX, we were the first ones to have the new Ford GT40 or something.
Right.
And I remember that we put a newsletter out saying, we're carrying AFX, and those are the cars that we already have. And I remember for the first time there was a line in front of the store at 9 a.m.
No kidding.
for that car, and we sold out on the same day. We didn't have, it was not a small batch. We bought a lot of,
Right.
and it was a line in front of the store. Wow. So then we started. Okay, so this is a very serious market. We need to take care of it. I'm still trying to learn about it. Now we're gonna start to carry Viper, which is like a professional line of slot cars.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with them, and we're gonna get the first shipment next week. And as far as I know, it's a huge market. Like there is a bunch of, we have here Rick Jokan, the guy who won the nationals.
You told me that. Yeah.
He's a AJO national champion as well. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to absorb this acknowledgement that I have around the store, and because it's slot cars, it's our market. We're just never selling this, and I think it's kind of big. I think it's going to be a good move if you guys have all that company behind you.
Yeah, I don't know where the tooling is. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Like your other interview.
Yeah.
Tooling in China sometimes disappears, but
but maybe it makes sense.
It might be still around. Yeah.
Mark, coming back, that's the question that I think everybody wants to hear, wants to make. How do you ended up as a Hot Wheels design? How was a newspaper ad that said, maybe this guy here, let me go there. So of course you have education to do it, and I saw your renderings, your handmade renderings. It's amazing. But how did you end up doing this specific kind of dream job to everyone who's involved with cars?
It's kind of a long story, but actually you could kind of say that there was a Mattel toy that started me on that road. It was called the vacuum form. It was a little metal box, and you plugged it in, you flipped it over and pumped on it, and it made bodies, right? Or it made things, right? And my dad kind of showed me how to look at photographs and carve some bucks and build some bodies for slot cars.
What kind of material were you carving stuff?
He started me out because I was kind of lame and I didn't like hard stuff, so we were using balsa wood, and then we primed it a lot to get real smooth. I can show you an example if you don't mind.
Sure.
Well, actually, I don't see one right away. But this is a later iteration where I finally got into plaster, which of course gives you the opportunity to make things a lot crisper. Not that this is great, but
that's carved. That's a
Yeah,
mold carved
hand
by
carved.
hands.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Sadly, I did that. I don't think I got it done before the AFX came out with theirs.
And that's a Escort or a Datsun?
It's a Capri. It's supposed to be the Capri.
It's a Ford.
Here's the AFX is pretty nice.
Oh, the AFX is here.
That was a professional, and I was just a
Two lenses.
high school kid. Yeah.
And how long ago did you make this?
In high school.
In high
roughly,
school,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see. That's the difference about the kids that back in the day. Can you imagine like a 16-year-old or 15-year-old doing this today? Yeah, different talents. Yeah, the Capri from that's from AFX? No, that's
Yes. Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was a nice one. I forget. I heard once who did a lot of those bodies. I think he's passed on, but he did really nice stuff. So after that, the guy I was working with to do that plaster pattern, he had me build a vacuum for him, a bigger one, in high school. And those teachers in the art department knew about Art Center. And I had friends of my dad's that knew about Art Center. In fact, my dad had sent a portfolio once to GM. So that's kind of how I got directed that direction. And basically went there to learn how to draw cars.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of fun. And from there, I was offered a job at Ford. I brought some renderings, but they're not here. But
Where in Ford? Here or
Ford in Dearborn.
in Michigan?
Yeah.
I was there.
It was a culture shock.
I was there a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go to Greenwich Village?
No, I went to the factory. They're doing only F-150s over there, and I went to the Henry Ford Museum, which is
Nice.
very
Yes,
nice.
the museum. Right beside it is Greenfield Village, which is
Okay.
where Henry Ford moved. all
The
those-
house.
Yeah.
The house, yeah.
And like the Wright brothers shop there and everything.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, see,
stuff.
I miss you as a guide. I should have you as a guide. We went there in a RV trip, me and my wife.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and
Nice.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Like the museum is just like Gene Clark's Lotus and stuff like that
All
that you don't
kinds of
see
cool
anywhere.
stuff. Yeah.
The whole display, the whole building, this is like an amazing museum to go.
Yeah.
And we went to the factory factory tour.
Nice.
They're doing only F-150s there.
Wow. Yeah.
It's very nice. But I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so
I'm
that-
sorry to
no,
interrupt you.
That's fine.
I know
yeah.
there's people going to comment right now saying, "Oh, he's interrupting
Oh,
the
no.
interview again." Look, I'm not a professional. Like, and he is my guest. You know,
There you
he's
go.
my guest, not yours.
Yeah.
This is like we're having a conversation.
Right.
He's coming back to the point. So, so you went to Ford, Michigan.
Yeah.
So you moved to Michigan?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And my big claim to fame was a PPG pace car, which was a Fox-bodied Mustang. And at the time, PPG was sponsoring pace cars for Indy.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I got a ride around Mid-Ohio with Wally Dallenbach Sr. It's kind of fun. Yeah. And the only other thing that happened there was I got a cast wheel that went on a Ford Tempo.
Okay.
That's the only thing I got
The
through.
only job they go away. How long?
I was there for a year and 9 months, and
Okay.
then they got tired of me, I think. You know, a kid right out of school, I was pretty clueless, and it was an interesting environment. Really nice people. Everyone really treated me nice.
But you're originally from California, right?
No, I was born in Colorado.
Oh, okay.
Lived the first 11 years of my life in Colorado, the next 11 in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay.
Then I came down here to go to school.
Okay.
Then a couple years in Detroit, and then back here.
Yeah, that's a shock. That's a shock. Move to Detroit from here.
Yeah, it was
It's cold as hell there.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was 80s, I believe.
80s, right? Yeah, 79 I graduated, and 80.
Was
That's
Detroit
okay.
that bad or?
You know, the only weird, I kind of avoided downtown. The one time I went down there to watch the powerboat races on Belle Isle, around Belle Isle,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the only time I really felt
Unsafe.
like I was in the wrong place. Yeah. Being from California, you know, things are different here.
Yeah. That area is very rich. The whole industrialization and the history of industrialization. The Ford original factory, the Piquet. I don't know the pronunciation, but the Ford
big one down there.
Yeah, the original one where they kind of invented the assembly line.
Yeah.
And the whole thing when people started to move out of Detroit, when Ford kind of gave the minimum wage, and people went there, and there's a lot of folks from the South coming there, and there was this segregation going on, and it's this whole Detroit history involving industrialization and involved the auto industry is just so rich.
Yeah.
I remember that the day that we were there with the first thing we did was the Piquet tour, and it was very good for us because it was in the middle of the pandemic, and the factory was closed.
Okay.
And we found a contact, and the guy was nice enough to open just for us.
Wow.
So we have like a 4-hour tour inside of the Ford original factory by ourselves.
Wow.
And he kind of teaches us everything. I remember going back to the hotel. We were in an RV, but that night we were sleeping in a hotel because there was no RV parking around it.
Right.
And I remember that we just, let's learn about the city. So we tried we almost didn't sleep that night because we were trying to observe everything that those guys were talking about and the importance of that city on the auto industry. Like we crossed around the Packard assembly line that was completely
derelict, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's amazing, and for you to have the opportunity to live at least 2 years in Detroit
Right.
and working with cars, that's a hell of experience.
It was very, very fortunate, very blessed. Thank the Lord for that. Had a great time. I was a little bit, my personality, I tend to be a little bit negative, and I think that kind of wore on him, you know. I saw things a little differently. Well, one thing that
You just went there and say, "Oh, your cars suck."
I tried not to do that. The guy who came after me left after 2 months. I think he told them they were all crazy, but because you had to dress up at that time, you know, suits and everything.
Yeah. Everybody's smoking.
Yeah.
Everybody's smoking the elevators.
And the first day I was there, I think these guys were talking about design. They said, "Yeah, if fins were in, we'd put them on the car," and I was like, "You'd what?" So that's how far out of it I was, because you know, it's design styling. It's cyclic.
Yeah.
And people look at other people's cars.
Yeah.
And but there were some fun things. I got a Mark I Fiesta, which they were all disappointed I didn't get a Mustang, but I did an ice race on it on a lake back there. I got pretty good, so I could handbrake into the driveway every night when I came home. And
you have discount on parts, so if you
mess
up with the car, that's fine.
Fortunately, I didn't hit him. But yeah, and the Ford, actually, they usually sent us home when Henry Ford, the second, he was still alive. And they usually sent us home when he came in the studio. I guess they didn't want anyone talking to him and giving them his, their opinion.
Any opinion. This guy can hear any opinion. Yeah.
And I sat next to the guy who he was doing the jockey uniforms for his horses. Right in the studio. Yeah. Okay. But, his name's on the building. It's cool. And I sat next to Virgil Exner Jr. for a while, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the guy who appears on the Ford vs. Ferrari movie.
No? Exner, he was a Chrysler. His dad was a famous Chrysler designer.
Okay.
And this is Junior. He also did a Ghia car and a bunch of those Lindbergh revival kits before your time.
Well, before my time.
Kind of.
I tend to know a bit about those historical cars, but that I don't.
Yeah, it's kind of obscure.
And then you come back to California, and now you're looking for a job with some experience now.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and then you open the newspaper. Oh, Mattel's hiring.
No,
not yet.
No. I came down to L.A. for a wedding. Some people I knew from church, and I'd been in touch with Honda. A bunch of my buddies from Art Center were there, and so I got an interview. And I was staying in Van Nuys. I drove down the 405. I had no idea about traffic, right? So I had to stop and call and say, "Hey, I'm going to be late, guys." I thought that was it, So I'm late to my interview. And but I had a motorcycle at that time. I had a CB400F.
Okay.
And I think that's what they liked. So they hired me as a motorcycle designer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're doing designs here?
Yes, it was a very small it was on 237th Street. And at the time, I think it was called Honda Research of California. They changed it later to HRA.
They still have that office here, right?
Yeah, well, not the little one, but yeah, down in Torrance, there's a big HRA, big complex.
Because we received a designer from Honda Motorcycles from Japan. He was here like a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I didn't get his name, but he introduced himself as...
Interesting, yeah, because...
apparently was a big guy because he was being followed by other 2 guys.
Oh, okay.
All of them are Asian men, but the 2 guys who were following this guy, they were from the local office. So this guy came from Japan.
Okay.
And he ended up buying a bunch of cars in one of the Philippe's books.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
So very interested about slot car road and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, every once in a while I look at Instagram and I follow a couple of people in Japan, and there's definitely a slot car racing scene there, of course.
But okay, sorry to interrupt you again.
Okay.
I'm sorry for interrupting the guest again. So you're driving down, you're late for your interview, and we say, I'm done. So you got there, you got hired as a motorcycle designer.
Right, yes.
And, well, of course, your first job is not, okay, give me a new motorcycle. No, you do parts, of course.
Parts, graphics.
Graphics.
Had to help a guy do a lot of taping. And that's the only thing I got done at Honda was some lettering on the V45 Sabre, I think. That was it.
Very proud about it.
Not really. Oh, and some graphics on an outboard motor.
Okay. On the motor.
An outboard motor for a boat.
Oh, for boat.
Yeah, because they had power products.
Oh, the graphics.
There
You
too.
mean literally the graphics that are on the cover and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the 80s, those are big. There's a lot of graphics going on in the 80s.
Yeah.
If you see the vans and trucks and stuff like that,
there's
a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then how long do you stay in Honda?
She gets shorter every time. Year and 4 months.
Okay.
And I decided that I wasn't having that much fun there, and that I would go out on my own and try and do automotive art. And that didn't work out too well. I did some art, and
that's why you know so much about those artists on those posters that I have here.
Yeah, I'm kind of following them. Yeah,
it was kind of scary for me when we'll tell this story. Like we got a bunch of vintage posters here, and those are like this guy here, like artworks signed by artists. And Mark came and saw those laying around, say, "Oh, I know this guy. Oh, this is the wife of that guy. This I know." So he knew everything about that. That's why it explains a lot.
Yeah, I guess in the Ford, my Ford era, I did a bunch of paintings, and they sold them through a gallery called Auto Art in New York. So I tried to keep up with that scene because I enjoy that. Yeah. So yeah, I tried to do freelance. I actually did a freelance project for Mattel. There was a doll at the time called Big Jim. I did a dragster for him, freelance, but things were kind of slow. So I saw an ad in the paper for a Chrysler designer in California.
Okay.
So I answered that ad, and I was interviewed in a hotel room by a man. His wife was there, and a dog walked on my portfolio, and. Anyway, I got hired.
Okay, good sign. Yeah. The dog was the lucky
He
charm.
liked it, right? At least the dog liked everything.
The little dog was, okay, hire this man.
I can always go back and say, oh, well, the dog liked it. No one else liked it. And so that was a place called Chrysler Pacifica in Carlsbad. I think it's behind where Legoland is now. This was before Legoland. Okay. And they were trying to start up a place. It's kind of run by one man. And they hired a bunch of kids from Art Center. I was the only guy with
some experience.
With experience, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the goals, I think, was to not use clay because of the association with the unions. So they were trying to get things done, in their opinion, a little faster, I guess. So they hired, one night, we were doing show cars, they hired all the local body guys they could.
Okay.
And we were shooting foam, insulation foam. 2-part foam on the bucks. And apparently when they shipped them back to Detroit, it didn't hold up very well.
It melted.
Yes.
Come on.
So it was an interesting experience.
Imagine he opened the case and said, okay, we can go with that. That's just different.
There I actually got full-size cars started in full-size.
In foam.
And foam, yes, covered in foam and Bondo over that. And then they sent me away to do the poster for the grand opening.
Okay.
And I came back and they turned the car into what they called a Mercedes 190 DTM theme more. You know.
Okay.
That was kind of disappointing because I didn't see the Mercedes in there, but that was an interesting experience. And the grand opening was cool because Iacocca was there and Shelby. I saw Shelby cruising around, and Alex Tremulous, old time design guy. Yeah. Yeah. So that was a cool experience. And then I was there a year and got a call from a friend who'd gone to school with, worked at Mattel with, at Honda, and he was at Mattel.
Okay.
And he gave me a call and said, hey, we're thinking about this guy. What do you think? And I said, well, do you have a position open? And so I went there, got hired at Mattel.
Okay.
But that wasn't doing cars. That was doing action figures.
Action figures. Okay.
He-Man. It was the He-Man era.
He-Man. Oh God.
So
I remember the castle. I was a boy in the late 80s, so I remember the Grayskull castle.
Yep.
So that was you. Oh my
God. I did some obscure figures. It was kind of at the end of it.
All right.
And then I stayed in there and did different vehicles for different Last Action Man and
like Thundercats.
Demolition Man. Yeah.
And then at some point,
in '93, I made it to
you
Hot
made the
Wheels.
jump to Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
Is that something that is just kind of a upgrade on your account? Staying on the company? Is that something? Look, HR, I have interest in to move up. Or
I don't think I was that savvy. I think it was another gentleman that was in Hot Wheels that wanted to trade.
Oh.
And he's a high-up executive at Universal now, I think. But yeah, so switched with him. And they knew I was a car guy because I drew cars all the time. So went over to Hot Wheels, worked on a bunch of projects until '97 when I started doing basic cars.
Okay.
First edition. Yeah.
First edition, yeah.
With Phil Reelman, yeah.
What was your very first original Hot Wheels coming out of your desk?
The original was one that the Hot Wheels collectors love to hate. It's called the Pipe Jammer.
Okay.
And I actually built it on Alias. At the time, I had gotten a chance to learn 3D sculpting. And so I built it there, and originally it was supposed to have bigger rear wheels, and that line got dropped.
I think I know what it is. 'Cause it looks like a dragster with like pipes coming out of the back.
Yeah, in the guy's head, yeah.
I think you signed one of those for me.
Oh, I might have, yeah.
Yeah, and I gave to my nephew in Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember finding one on eBay and asking to sign that.
Oh, yeah.
He's collecting now, so I sent to him. He was very happy about
Okay.
that. I think he showed me one in a video call a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
Look,
really?
I still have it. It's very
Really?
cool. And then that was the first one, and that's not like a real car. It's like a prototype that you can. How the briefing with, like, I understand that the marketing guy, I believe Jimmy Liu, right? Jimmy Liu, he's the guy who decides which cars they're gonna make for the year.
Well, it's technically we have a big say in it, design-wise.
Okay.
Jimmy has some stuff he wants to see, so we kind of work together.
So you guys bring, let's say today, now we're in September, so for now you guys kind of deciding the list for the next year.
24.
24.
Yeah.
24 cars.
No, the year 24.
The 24 already.
Yes. Yeah. So we just got done with that. All the new castings for.
So you know which the new models that are coming in 24.
Yes.
And how many are those?
Well, see, that gets complicated because we have a bunch of lines. So I work on the premium lines, which is the ones with the metal chassis and the rubber tires. Yeah. So we have.
So we have like 5 or 6 lines, and then we have the kits with 2 or 3 cars, plus the special stuff. Like I noticed that you design a Mercedes special set with 4 cars.
Right.
Where you have the C9.
Yeah.
But for the collectors, I remember that we were working on a project, and I had to find out about the new Hot Wheels list, and people are waiting for those. And different from slot cars. In slot cars, the big companies, they release, let's say in January at Nuremberg Fair. So we're going to have 24 new models, 36 new models. Those are the models. Here are the pictures of the prototypes. And just you're going to wait through the year to get those cars. Carreras, Acceleracers, NSR, slotted, make this way. So you guys have like an official release date. So those are the new models, guys.
We have official release dates for us. We don't share that with the public.
Oh, okay.
It is shared with distributors and, people who are selling them.
Okay, but then the hardcore collectors, they probably...
Yes, there's a website. Brazilian gentleman, I believe, T-Hunted.
T-Hunted.
And he's kind of our nemesis.
Yeah, really? He's the guy who's discovering stuff like that? Okay. You can solve this with a phone call. Don't worry about that. Just give me the name in a piece of paper and then figure out. So you guys got that. So he's the guy figuring out with the distributors, which is the newest ones, and putting a list.
Sometimes they send the distributors lists.
Yeah.
And he'll publish them,
Right away.
Yes.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Brazilians.
Well, we appreciate the enthusiasm. Just
yeah. Well,
sometimes it gets us into trouble.
Maybe it works for you guys because those hardcore collectors. I tried to collect Hot Wheels at one time when I was like 10 years ago. I got to a point that I have like 1,000, but I wasn't care. I was just picking up an opening and looking at it, put it on a display. And then when I tried to sell the collection, people, oh, why did you open that? Oh, keep it on the blister. I learned the word blister because in Brazil we don't have this word over there.
Okay.
And they're blister. What the hell is blister? So I had to learn blister. And then I noticed that my collection went down for like 40% or 50%. Some rare cars that I had that I didn't even know that were out of the blister. It was just like a blasphemy. Oh my God. So those guys get very serious. Like we have serious collectors for slot cars, but I think Hot Wheels, because it's much popular, people are just going nuts. And for you guys must be like a super, I don't know, super secret. There's a big secret to don't put this big list out and decide on the next ones. And I know that you guys have those events where you decide the next Hot Wheels if somebody comes with a nice real car build. So my question is regarding this list. How are we gonna put this together? And I know that it's a decision between you guys and the marketing manager, but how you guys finally decide? Okay, this is a 2024 list. Don't tell no one. We're gonna do those cars, and how we're gonna move over. So, tell me a little bit more about the process of putting this list together. That's my big company, because the universe is so big. There's so people waiting for that list. So many people waiting for that.
Yeah, well, just got done doing it, and
okay, so fresh.
Basically, it's time driven. People are cracking the whip, saying, "Hey, we have to have this big meeting where we show all this stuff, and we have to do it by this date, right?" And I have a manager, but I'm the only guy figuring that part of premium out. I have people who come in and help do a car here and there, thankfully. So it's pretty much up to me, and then Jimmy will, he'd say, well, why don't you do this, and I'd like to see this. But the majority, I'm just trying to do a good variety, so I can hopefully hit everybody, all the different interests. And might be influenced by stuff that's been around at shows, that I've seen, or Pebble Beach or whatever,
Or even Ken Block.
Yeah.
Commercial.
Yeah.
Commercial agreement. You have Ken Block, but that was very, very popular 5 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
And you guys did the Ford Fiesta.
Yeah, I did that actually.
You did that.
Yeah.
I had that one.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So, and that's an important part of the partnerships, like you said, with people who are on the rise.
With Disney, with Ken Blocks.
Yeah.
And people who coming around together.
Yeah. There's another department called Hot Wheels Brand Marketing, and they also are involved with some partnerships
and licensing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Star Wars.
Another licensing department.
Okay.
So, like in the old days, I was telling Mr. Ferrari, I was showing him some of the chaparrals I'd done, because he's a big chaparral fan, and just telling him that I agreed with him on the on what a great guy Mr. Hall is, because I never got to go down there, but back in the day, before we had a licensing department, there was one gentleman who worked in legal, and he kind of handled it. And then if there were questions and stuff, he'd tell them to talk to me. So I got to talk to Mr. Hall. He went out in the shop and actually made templates for those whiskers down on the front of the 2C there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I still have them. And then he pointed out on the 2D that the rear fender actually peaks behind the tire. I didn't have that quite right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's my next question. It's such a small scale. You cannot like hope to have like precision on the modeling, right? Plus you have a bunch of restrictions on the design that you need to fit the wheels, you need to fit the chassis, and by the end of the day, when you finish with the design, you must say, look, that's the closest I can get, right?
Yeah, it's all compromises, and that's you know usually what I see when I look at them is the compromises.
Yes, probably right.
Yeah.
Like the little things that are not correct, but that's the best we can do.
Right. There's molding. There's wall thicknesses.
The plastic.
Yeah, we have limited wheels, so that makes us move things around in order to try and accommodate our wheels, and we have wheel clearance standards. So some of the cars sit up a little too high. So that's those are the challenges.
Those are the everyday challenges. And you told me once that sometimes you have the CAD files for some cars straight from the factory, and you have a license with some.
Right. Yes. Nowadays we tend to get CAD files. A lot of them are so complicated that it takes a ton of time for the sculpting department to simplify them, right? Because they're full size and super, Class A surface. So sometimes we rely on models. We look at models for reference.
Slot cars.
They're a really good one. Possibly.
For inspiration.
Yeah, and there's digital modeling services. A lot of people are buying models to render.
Okay.
So we sometimes use those for reference.
Like a freelance kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just hire those guys. And I heard that Tamiya is very good too. So there's a bunch of people on the slot car world that just copy straight out Tamiya.
Yeah, Tamiya does excellent models.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have a museum near Tokyo that's kind of a
Have
dream.
You been?
No.
I haven't. My former boss, June, went there, I know. Yeah, he has a
They have some real cars over there because they used to sponsor real racing. And one of the cars that they used to sponsor is the Tyro six-wheeler. And they have like 4 or 6 in the road. One is there.
Wow.
So those guys are very serious about it.
Yeah.
So you nowadays you get the CAD files, you get models, and you try to make it the 164 version with all the restrictions on materials and size and production that you have to try to get to the final project. How long a new cast today takes in the office to say, look, this is ready for production?
Well, usually we say it takes about a year to 15 months to come out from design, start to shelf.
Okay.
Yeah. And
how many people involved?
It's pretty rough.
It's a project for one designer, or you guys share with the other people, or
usually one designer.
Is the father of the project?
Yes, right.
You go to deliver to graphics or something else.
Well, there's a lot of people involved, right? So if I'm designing something, I work with a sculptor. In the old days, I did a lot of sculpting myself, but now we're doing a ton of stuff. So we have a sculpting department. So they do it digitally. So there's back and forth there.
And 3D printed the prototype.
3D print, yeah,
Okay.
and evaluate. I don't think I brought any 3D prints. And then once we prove it at headquarters, then we send it over to OFCs, to our development group, and they go through things and change everything to make it buildable. And there's of course a lot of back and forth there then with the engineer and their sculptor and their executive and myself and my executives.
And then by the end of this 15 months comes a print to your desk, says sign mark, go ahead, go to production. Is that like that, or is it
No, not really that formal.
formal?
No, they just want me to say it's approved.
Yeah,
a lot
go
of time,
ahead, print this thing.
A lot of times it's a license issue. So after I get everything where I want it, then I make myself a sheet with side, front, orthographic views and a couple perspectives, and we send that to the licensing department, who sends that to the licensor. And then they
have a wait for more 3 months to get everything.
That is a problem. It's not. We have a contract that says 2 weeks for everybody, but that they don't always keep to that.
Did you guys ever get any licensing approved after the whole process of putting together a new car?
Yeah, I've had. I think we did. What's that apocalyptic movie? The Australian one with the Avenger. You guys actually have a slot car. Sorry, my mind's
Apocalyptic movie with Avenger.
Anyway,
I look,
Ford
I look,
Avenger.
I look into the
Australian.
nerds. No, in the game.
Okay.
It's Australian.
Mel Gibson, but
Mad Max?
yes, Mad Max.
Okay.
Sorry,
There
my
you go.
mind's gone. And we got all the way. We built the Avenger, the Ford,
Oh, okay.
and we never got that approved. So every once in a while we go down the road a ways.
So that must be the most valuable Hot Wheels.
Well, we didn't make it past. I think I have.
The 3D printed.
3D prints. Yeah,
Shell of that.
yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That's 10 months designing something. And how many projects do you work at a time? Like you have like, how many projects do you have on your desk right now?
Right now, it's probably 2 in sculpting, 2 that I'm late on, 2 going back and forth, probably 10 right
10?
now. Yeah. It
Oh my God.
probably isn't good because you could afford to spend a little bit more time.
And even the creative department, do you guys have like a proper, that's not a word, like is the company working like a real office? Like you have due dates and everything like that? Or it's kind of more laid down, okay, gonna finish this guy here now, let's.
No, we have due dates. Yeah, there's another department that oversees the due dates.
Oh, okay.
So we have weekly meetings where we're told how late we are. Yeah.
How late you are.
Yeah. In my case.
In my case.
Some guys.
And it
maybe-
was always like this since 93 or?
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Did the company change a lot since 93?
Oh yes. Yeah. Our whole process did, of course.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
because of computers and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
3D printers and.
Yeah. I used sometimes to hand carve little models just to get the size right, and then we had a gentleman who did the orthographic drawings.
Okay.
Interesting guy, Steve Amos. He'd actually worked with Harley Earl at GM Design
Okay.
many years ago. So we'd hand him that, and I'd do a layout or just a rough side and top view, and he would do all the sections, and then we'd send those over there, and they'd carve the pattern.
Was taking longer to make a Hot Wheels
Oh,
back
yes.
in the day?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the technology came to help.
Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah.
production's much bigger right now, right?
Right,
I
yeah.
remember when Lasney Matchbox, Lasney started, they do like 30 models for 10 years. Or
Right.
it was 45 the first batch, and they used for 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
Just changing colors and wheels.
Right.
And after that, I think that was 55.
Roughly, I think.
And then on the 60s, they started to do new models almost every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny thing, like I was visiting the UK for the UK festival, and I was staying at a friend's house in London, and he took me to. It was kind of summer. He took me to get a burger in an outside kind of pop-up restaurant. As soon as you're walking down, I send you the plate, right?
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Here lays the original Matchbox
Yeah.
Lasney factory. It's like, what the hell? I
Amazing.
took the picture and sent to you right away.
Yeah.
Like, look where I am. I didn't know.
Amazing.
Yeah, by a river.
Yeah.
All the factories are by a river on the day.
There's a guy who goes to the Matchbox convention, which is in Albuquerque every year, and he worked there.
He worked on that factory.
Yeah.
On that building.
Yeah, and he told a story about one of his friends that he had a Mini, original Austin Mini,
Mm-hmm.
and they were parked down the parking, and it was so cold that the heater didn't work, and so he lit some candles to try and keep it warm. And he must have forgot or something, because they look out the window and the carpet's on fire.
Oh God. but yeah, those connections are like must be you saw that change over 30 years almost designing Hot Wheels, all this change of handmaking and different process and carving by hand, and now you have all this technology. You have much more people working around. You have the factories away. When did the factory move to China? Like was always in China? No.
No, originally the Hot Wheels were made here in Hawthorne. You
Okay.
know, our headquarters used to be in Hawthorne, where that Ford dealer is on Rosecrans.
Mm-hmm.
That used to be the
Ford is okay.
Yeah, right by the 405.
The truck. Oh, here,
yeah
a couple blocks away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to be the tower.
Okay.
Yeah, Mattel was there, and they had a factory in Hawthorne that I never saw because that was way before my time. But then I think then they started making them Hong Kong also. So for the serious red line collectors, there's U.S. made and there's Hong Kong.
Oh.
So there's some value between, and some
Both of
people
them.
prefer. And there were actually some changes in some of the designs, so they're actually different slightly. You know, things
Okay.
got moved slightly. And then you know, I don't know when it moved, but when I started working, we still did a little bit in China. but it was in our plant is in Malaysia.
Malaysia,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
It says Malaysia on the bottom of the cars. Some
Right.
of them, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then the other stuff that I'm doing now,
Yeah, this one says
the
Malaysia.
premium, that's those are made in Thailand.
Come on. Look at this. Is this out already?
Should be.
Oh my god.
Supposedly kind of hard to
Nicola
find.
Larini 155.
Yeah. Here's an obscure one for you.
Another Alpha with the rubber wheels. No, not an Alpha. What is that?
It's a Rover.
It's a Rover.
It's a Rover P6. They built a couple of them, and it was the first car I'd seen because here they were running Trans Am. Our Trans Am cars we didn't have fender flares.
Okay.
Everything was inside the body.
Yeah.
Big fat tires. They were cool, and everything had been chopped and
Tuck it in.
yeah. But this was one of the first cars I saw pictures of that had actual fender
Fenders
flares.
outside.
It made a huge impression on me, and
Why those cars have like numbers on top of it?
those are pre-production.
Pre-production.
Yeah, FEPs. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, so collectors, please die. Look at this. Yeah, that's like I know that people. You once you gave me a car that somehow I think the carton was printed incorrectly or twisted or something.
Might have been the Lancia. They misspelled Lancia on the back.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So you told me, hold to this. This is valuable. So people are just going crazy about those little mistakes and variations.
Yeah. There's
and
a
stuff
guy
like
who's
that.
written books on the variations, color variations.
It's that big.
Yeah.
Color variations.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep.
How many in a car like that, the Alpha 155, which is not a very popular car here in America, but it's probably selling a lot in Europe and stuff like that, and in other countries. What is the production on that? You guys make it like a
Per model?
200,000?
Probably, yeah. I would say at least. Yeah, maybe more now. Oh, wait, that would be for a basic car.
Basic car,
So
right?
we would be less, yeah.
Because this is the model, the premium model.
Premium,
with the-
yeah. I honestly don't know per model how much we're making. Yeah.
And do they sold out and you guys make another batch, or how does it work? Like it's because for the collector point of view, a second batch could be bad, right?
Right, yeah. Well, in premium, we don't have any limits on. There's another line called RLC, Red Line Club,
Uh-huh.
and that's only online,
Limited edition.
and that's limited. Things are limited. These are not limited. So just the reality of the thing is, like for 24, I will probably put those in. We'll probably do a different deco.
Okay, using the same
but they will-
cast.
Yeah, they'll be in
Here on the
in another
GT,
mix.
here on the GTM you can have like 12, I think. You have the martini.
Pretty
you have
many,
the,
yeah.
all the-
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Of course,
Yeah.
we can't do real martini because we're selling
Beverage,
kids,
yes.
so we have to.
You
do a simulation.
You do Marlboro. No, just so.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, that's a Lancia.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So just a simulation without the martini.
Yeah.
And that's another one with the production number on there.
Yep.
Thank you very much. It's pretty cool. Come on. Look at the Rover. Yeah. I'm gonna take pictures later on and put on top of it so we can show it better.
Okay.
That's very, very nice.
Cool thing about that car, of course, is it had the V8, the little ex-Buick V8. There was a little V8 that Buick made that they sold the tooling to Rover.
Okay.
Yeah. So that engine got used quite. Actually, Brabham Ripco was based. It was an Australian firm that based their engine on that Buick V8.
But that's it's an overkill to tell me things like that when you're designing Hot Wheels. There's no engine on here. So is everybody on your department involved like you are, or saying like in the history of cars and stuff like that?
Probably not everyone, but a lot of the cool thing is everyone has different interests.
Okay.
So there might be I sit next to a guy who built literally gassers. He drives a gasser that he built,
Mm-hmm.
and he's built a Firebird, and so he's coming from American, totally different than me. Went to a different school.
Okay.
My buddy Phil is also American, heavy interest in American stuff.
It drives the gasser every day to the office?
No, not
Okay.
quite. But
Sometimes.
we used to work for. We had a boss who drove a 36 every day.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of the cool thing is there's
So the whole team
different
completes
interests.
itself.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah. One interesting thing on race cars when I was starting out, I kind of did all the cool race cars at the time, the GT1 Porsche and the Mercedes and the Panos, because he was American and doing a weird front engine thing. But I think nowadays, and especially Jimmy, I think they recognize this generation more of the GT car.
Okay.
Because it can kind of relate to the street cars.
Well, there's a relation with games too, right? You can,
Definitely.
You can race those. You can race the same cars at the game.
Yeah, that's really helped us for like stuff that would have been really obscure for Americans a while ago. You know,
like the DTM in the 90s.
The gaming thing has really opened a lot of people's eyes up, and I think that's a good part of that young enthusiasts is they some of them do know more just from the gaming.
Yeah,
you know?
you can
It
learn,
educates
you can learn about racing over there, and of course,
Yeah.
if you're really interested in that thing, you can. The next step is just go to YouTube and watch it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, just go to YouTube and watch
watch
90s DTM highlights.
Yeah.
Done. You're done for life.
Right.
You're the biggest fan of the DTM.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I hope though the new technologies and even this new trend, because if you see the cars on Instagram, they're not. My biggest fear is that those people who think that this is the auto world right now, they're gonna just fade away because if you're not hooked with what really racing is, what really people building cars, chaparrals and Indy, and you know about the Answer brothers, like you're just gonna fade away. It's just like there's no connection. My connection was literally my father knocking at my door at 6 a.m. Like, look, we need to watch the race. I said, I don't want to. You need to watch the race. So we go there and watch Senna and watch PK and watch those big NAS Formula 1 cars racing. And that's what my passion is here right now because of that time. And people right now, maybe the game, it's a gate to learn about DTM, to learn about Can-Am and this stuff. And in my biggest worry is the slot car industry, of course, and one of the motives that I brought you here is it's try to learn how Hot Wheels are seeing the future, because I know that you guys have a new batch every year and you probably sold out to the late models, and how you guys are directing. I noticed that you guys doing a lot of GDM stuff. Is that might be the future, or you have always a space saved for the classic cars?
That probably depends on who's running who's just doing the designs as far as their idea of classic, right?
Mm-hmm.
We worry about overdoing the JDM stuff, but there's a good variety of cars that haven't been done, and a lot of interest. You know, I think another thing is that drifting. To me, that's not real racing, of course, because it's people making judgment calls, but. If you go down to Long Beach, they drift
a week before
after the race car. Yeah,
before the Grand Prix, right?
But then the Grand Prix, they also have a demo at 6. They do a drifting there, and the crowd comes in totally different, totally young, and there's something there,
Yes.
I don't. To me, it's kind of what would you say? Conspicuous consumption, tearing up tires and smoking.
Yeah.
Kind of lawless, but at least these guys are on the track, and there's some very serious people doing some really crazy builds.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
1,500 horsepower in Nissan. Yeah.
And there, maybe there's something to that.
There's a lot of skill driving those things too.
Yeah. I have a buddy, a graphics designer over in Hot Wheels, and he's into all kinds of hobbies. But for a while, he spent a good year doing RC drifting, and they pulled a huge field.
Is that the one that is very slow, going like a dance around it?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay. I have like 4 cars together.
Right,
like
yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Takes a lot of skill.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's something to do that way with slot cars to draw people in. Maybe, I don't know if you could even do a tie-in with the game, like Gran Turismo, and do some of the Vision cars. And sell that as a set. I don't know if they'd be up for that, but
like slot car nerdy. But if I could back on time, I would be in Hawthorne.
Yeah,
and just like take me there for afternoon. Just let me see what's going on over there, because that place was kind of crazy.
There were guys building their own bucks and stuff for bodies.
Yeah, no. The whole thing about Mrs. Hack was that they watched the race on Sunday in Riverside, and they're gonna race the same car on Wednesday night.
Really?
So they do the molding, they do the plexi, whatever the material they're using to do the bodies, and they have the same car with the decals and everything positioned to race on Wednesday. And on the day of the race, they decide which course they're gonna take because the track changed course for like 8 different courses.
Yeah.
And was only 25 members.
Really?
Legend says that every member had a key to the building, and on the key there was the number of the race car that you're supposed to be racing.
Wow.
So
cool.
each member has one number, and that number is the member. I know I learned a lot about MISAC because I worked for Roger Moon, who passed away last 2 years ago. He was one of the official members.
Really?
And he was the guy who most won the concourse.
Oh, really?
So there's the concourse trophy there, and he was the guy doing the molds.
Okay.
We still have here at Electric Dreams, we sell some of the Porsches that, so we call the Porsche MISAC, that Roger built the molds.
Really?
Yeah, we have a bunch of those here.
Really?
And Roger was not in a bad health situation, so I was working on his collection, and he stopped by in the afternoons just to talk to me, to have conversations. So he told me a lot of his stories about MISAC. And Roger was the guy who actually closed the building. So everything that MISAC had in stock, even like programs and how to operate the race director thing, and a bunch of records and the trophies, he had everything. So I was working on that collection because he was planning to sell to the museum. And right away, when I start to make the connection between Scott and Roger health deteriorated and he passed. But then I started to work for Scott. So it was kind of in the middle of this thing over there. So I learned a lot about MISAC.
Cool.
He gave me a couple of, not the plaques, it was like paper plaques, first, second, third, and concourse. I have one of each.
Really? Wow,
yeah,
that's cool.
And it's a place that I really want to try to learn more about one day and try to interview the guys who are still around.
That'd be good.
Yeah. It was right here in Hawthorne. Like
was it in Hawthorne? I knew it was pretty close.
4 or 5 miles away. The building still stands.
Is it?
It's an old building. Yeah, I think it's like a muffler shop or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah. So they see the race on Riverside on Sunday.
Yeah.
Take some pictures, and on Wednesday they have the car.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. But Mark, tell me a little bit more about your slot car connection. How do you start to race slot cars?
Oh, well, my dad got a scale electric set probably 63 maybe, because I think Polk started bringing them here in 59, something like that. And we played around with that for a while. I was pretty young, so I was, you know how kids are with young kids with slot cars. It's painful, yes. Yeah.
And they're not that reliable in the back, so.
Yeah. Then he built a little 4x8 track using the scale electric. I still have that. It's really flexible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. But then we outgrew that, and he bought some Revell track, and we made a 4-lane that we had in our basement in Colorado. And there was this car, it was a 250LM, a monogram, and it was kind of fast, and no one seemed to like it very much. Couldn't control it. So
that's your car from the basement from Colorado?
Yeah. So I kind of adopted it, and the Revell track set had the guardrail wasn't right up against track. They actually had a nice
space to
slide. So I got to where I loved running the outside lane, and that you can see it's been repaired, but I actually wore the back of the car out from riding the outside. So you can
slide a little bit.
Yeah.
So you were a drift guy since then.
Yeah, okay. Back then, yes.
Very nice.
Yeah,
so that's your original car.
I wore the motor out, so that's a Ruskit 22, I think, 22. Or something in there. Yeah.
Those motors are still around, actually. We still have those for sale here, actually.
Yeah. Wow.
That's very nice. So when you changed the motor, the car was a little faster.
Actually, I'm not sure that it was. We just burned the original motor out. Yeah. Probably should have been.
I remember when I started doing slot cars, each part that you have to change, you go to the hobby shop and change one gear, was like I conquered the world.
Big deal.
It was a big deal. One gear. And I started racing slot cars in mid-90s. And in Brazil, we didn't have much of stuff imported from here, so we had to do ourselves. So we have like little factories doing gears and stuff,
cool.
but not as the same quality that we have here.
Right.
So in the 92, 93, I think, they kind of opened the gates for importing.
Import.
And then the PSC pink gears came along, and everybody was doing that. And I remember it was so expensive.
Really?
For me to
Oof.
get one, it was just
Yeah.
like, I was a kid, but it was like $50 to get one gear. Like kind of some, you
Yeah.
have to do some savings to get one
Right,
gear.
to get one gear.
And I
Wow.
remember that the counter of the store, they have the gears, like one of each with the price on the sides. And you're like, I wanted that gear. So you kind of go with the one gear was so precious on that time.
Wow.
And I remember when the Parma came with the motors, the pink end bell was just like another thing. Like, oh, I need to get one Parma end bell. And you have one or two cars and that's it. So I think when you got this and nobody kind of liked it and you kind of adopted, was kind of your car. Every time that you change one little tire, one little thing was kind of a big...
You know, I think that's where my problem is a lot different than. I think I enjoy the aesthetic and the bodies and stuff more than the technical.
Okay.
So and I tend to rely on people a lot. So my dad, he did a lot of that building and stuff. So I didn't do a lot of mechanical until we moved to California, and that big track.
That's the beauty of slot cars. You enjoy in different ways. There's
Yeah.
people who just
Right.
paint. There's people who just build. There's people who just drive. There's people who do the mall.
Yeah.
So that's the whole...
Yeah, there's people who do everything well,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
you really admire that, yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of hard to find.
Yeah, yeah. We moved to California, and the big 4-lane, we ended up needing more garage space. So and the track rusted, which we'd never experienced in Colorado, right? So
So you came from the basement to the garage.
yeah, out here, because there were no basements, right? So that kind of got put away, and then I think when the Tyco Pro cars came out, I put together an HO layout, 4-lane, yeah.
Same garage.
Actually, no, it moved indoors. So it was in our family room. My parents were I was the only child, right? So they were very indulgent. And my dad built a thing so it flipped up.
Oh, okay.
And then it flipped down, yeah.
Murphy bed situation.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then I started building the bodies and messing around with the spring heights from AFX. Like I told you before.
So you really develop yourself as a slot car racer with the HO?
A little bit more, yeah. Not to the level. See, I never ran commercial stuff. My
Okay.
parents kind of liked me around the house.
Okay.
So I don't think I ever got to the level of
Going there.
like the guys that were running the nationals the other day. I was kind of just a numbers maker upper. But another interesting story I ran into. Speaking of a slot car connection, Lancer.
Oh, yeah.
I ran into Lloyd Asbury. He actually did some stuff for me for Hot Wheels.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember the P4, because I love that body that they did. And I thought it really captured the P4. That there was a guy named John Thompson who did a lot of orthographic drawings. They were in road and track sometimes, but all in model car and track a lot. And this one photograph, I think Pete Coulter probably took it over in Italy, of the car. It just captured that, and I really felt the body, Lloyd's body captured the P4 really well.
And the P4 design for the Hot Wheels is yours?
Yes, right. It's here somewhere. But I got that done, and Lloyd actually pulled out, he made a resin out of the back cast, the body, and we made it a little bit smaller. And the licensing folks at Ferrari did not like that.
Okay.
So we redid it. So that's the redone version, yeah.
Okay.
That's an interesting
But
phenomenon.
that's more a modern car, right? That's like 10 years old max.
Oh, I did that in 2000 maybe.
About 20 years.
Yeah.
It's very nice before.
So that's interesting with the licensors now. There's licensing people working for corporations in their licensing department that sometimes know less about, in my opinion,
Yeah.
the cars than some people trying to design them. But
Yeah, and they have no connection with the original designer of this before,
right, yeah.
probably. Yeah, but yeah, that looks very nice. It's kind of, to me, it's a little bit longer
Yeah,
than what I'm used to see, but probably because of restrictions. And I noticed there's a little details in the bottom and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was doing less cars then, so I tried to do stuff like that.
Like a little
The
motor.
oil pan.
Oil
coming out,
pan,
yeah.
So how many pieces are those cars made of? You have the body, the glass, the detail, the chassis, and the wheels.
For basic cars, it's 4 pretty
Four
much.
pieces.
Yeah, and sometimes, and they want a certain number of them done with 3. For this stuff, I'm getting away with a little bit more. I could get 5.
And are you part of the production costs? Like you have, you know the production cost of each, or kind of?
If I were a numbers person, I would probably know, yeah.
No,
The information's available.
No, I'm not asking. It's just like when it's part of a job to keep inside of, like, you need to
Yeah.
give 3 parts, 4 parts. So this car
Right.
came too expensive. You need to come back a couple of parts.
Right.
And probably you're just trying the best as you can, and then comes back
Yeah.
to you, say, okay, I have to cut that glass, I have to cut that thing.
Right, yeah.
Okay, do you have any?
Especially on basic. But on this stuff, I'm getting, the separate
The
parts.
premium?
Yeah, so we're
Yeah,
a
you
little
can-
bit more where we were when I started basics.
Yeah, and here, well, the grill is painted.
Yeah, we had a negotiation on that. I got shutoffs on the Mercedes DTM car, but the gentleman over there told me that he could do this and it'd be better if we painted them. So I settled for shutoffs on one car and gave them up here.
So we have the wing, we have the exhaust, and the rest of it's painted.
The exhaust is actually
And
part
the roll
of the
cage.
The exhaust is actually part of the roll cage.
Ooh.
So we're trying, you try to do little creative things like that to get a lot of color breaks with the minimum parts. Yeah.
Yeah, because the roll cage is the same color of the exhaust.
Yeah.
That's very nice. It's this is part of, it's a big part of the job right now. Like
Cost.
not only design, but restrictions because of cost and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I think the graphic guys get hit because that's, they're limited to certain, like I think on basic cars, it's 2.9 tampo hits or something, so it's real tight on basic cars. We're allowed a little bit more on the premiums.
And which was the most expensive car ever designed?
Boy, I don't know.
Okay, but which one is the most popular car you ever designed?
Popular?
Yeah, the one that sells the most or the most valuable right now.
See, I don't know that.
Okay.
Yeah, because the basic cars, back when I did those, there's just one SKU number.
Okay.
So there's no way to track, other than when you go to the store and you see 15 of the cars you thought were really cool. Just rows and rows of them hanging there. Then you know you made a mistake.
Okay. And do you have one of each of yours?
I try to, yeah.
Okay. You're missing an alpha?
That could be.
That's very nice, Mark. Thank you very much for coming and
Sure.
sharing this stuff. I wish we could stay longer, and I just don't want to bother. I know that you need to come back to the
well,
office.
Well, thank you.
It's very nice to know that you were involved with the car and you work at Ford and came back to Chrysler but the most fantastic thing for me is just like it's this piece here. Like your father teach you how to carve this, and now this is your job, and you've been doing that like famously. Like people around the internet just they're just proud of your work and collecting the stuff that you're doing. That's just amazing. Yeah. And if you need to bring Tycho back, please let me know.
Yeah.
Let's do something. Let's put it back in the market.
Yeah.
I think you guys have the tools, you have the product.
And there's interest. There's people still running 440s and stuff. So
let's do some chaparrals. Let's do some new bodies, like a chaparral set. Can you imagine?
Nice. Yeah.
Just send us 500 right now. Let's sell it. Can you imagine a Tycho chaparral set? Oh my God.
They did. They did do a 2G back in the day. No, before the fenders it would have been 2E.
Okay.
Yeah. And they did a 2D also.
I have a picture of the chaparrals from here. Is it? I think is it? Okay.
Oh, there we go.
So
yeah.
Talk to Tycho, and now we start.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay, which one?
Yeah. I would love to do the 2H just because it's so obscure.
Yeah.
I saw Surtees run that at Laguna before the track was like that, of course.
Yeah, and there's so much expectation to do this guy in a slot car version.
Yeah.
Well, we have CG slot car doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
In a 3D printed file,
Yeah.
and the first version that he had like actually motor working on the.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
You put on the track, you hear the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that, watching the real car coming down the corkscrew. And one time he shut the motor off, and he was just running on the fans. And it was weird sounding. Yeah, I think Elford was driving then. I don't think Stewart was. I think Elford was driving by that time, yeah.
Yeah, so I hope we can keep up the car culture. I hope people can know more about it. We have this vintage cars thing going on, and like the Porsches, the 80s and 70s Porsches, it's almost impossible to get a nice one today. It was kind of affordable 15 years ago.
Yep.
That's a sign that people are already giving more value to those things. So I hope people in the car culture change a little bit so we can appraise more the 330 and the Chaparrals and even the 90s DTM, which is fantastic. But Mark, again, thank you very much. I don't know, do you want to share something else that I didn't ask?
Oh, no, not really. I just want to say I just got done listening to Mauricio and yours talk, and really enjoyed that. That was great.
I think I went a lot on the production because I'm just curious, and I have the guy here, and and I want to explore his how do you start a job like that? Like how you go to China? What is your first call? Yeah. And I think it was pretty nice to share a lot of That was my question, and I think I interrupted him a lot too. Did I interrupt you a lot too?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. See, it's fine. Oh God!
Don't listen to all the critics. There's always anytime you're doing something, there'll be tons of critics.
I need to learn from you.
You should read some of the comments on Instagram when the new cars come out. You know,
it's just like
some of it's very positive, and some of it you just gotta go.
Have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, calm, please. Mark, thank you very much, and thank you for this whole collection of cars.
Oh, sure.
Mark, thank you.